Today we're going to talk about rendering beeswax in a crock pot. So here we just have a regular crock pot, and you probably do want to use a crock pot that's going to be dedicated for rendering wax because it can dirty up your crock pot. So it's probably not a good idea to use one that you're going to use for food afterwards. And here we just have some really nice capping wax, and this was saved from when we process honey, and then we just save the wax, and so we can use it later for, and we're going to use for lip balm, salves, and such. Older comb is better used for like candles and things like that, because the wax acts like a sponge, and so it can absorb some of the treatments that we use against varroa mites. And so those treatments, it's probably not a good idea to use that for cosmetics. And then, so here's just little bits of wax. Yeah, there was little bits of wax that I had left over. I'll probably reprocess this. This is some wax that I've already rendered. And since I am using this for lip balm, I'll probably process it again. Um, it just has some propolis and some things in there, and I just want to get it as clean as possible. And so I'll use a paper towel to melt it down again and get all of the extra impurities out of it. And this is just a regular paint strainer bag that I picked up from Home Depot. You can get it at Lowe's or any other hardware store. They're really cheap. It was like $3, and it's just a gallon strainer. You can use a bigger strain bag if you want. It'll just hang over the sides a little bit. And this is just to filter out any, bee parts, bigger debris that's not going to melt down into the wax. And then that's what it looks like. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It's just a nylon strain bag. You can also use cheesecloth. That'll work too. And I just set it in the inside of the crock pot, and the elastic was a little bit tight on there, and I did have to rip it a little bit, but no big tragedy. And then I'm going to add the water, and that's just 2 cups of water, and that's just so the wax is going to sit on top of the water and just pop out really nice from the crock pot, and so it's not going to stick to the sides and all that. And this is the capping wax, and there's a bee in there, poor little bee. Sorry about that. And so you can see how clean and nice this wax is. It's new wax. They just made that. Kind of looks like oatmeal. And we're just going to close, put the lid on there. And I'm going to lift the nylon bag around the lid. It is nylon. I don't think the crock pot will heat up to the point where it'll melt the strain bag, but just in case, we'll put it over the lid there. And I have it set on low. Now, depending on your crock pot, you might want to set on high, you might want to set on low. Just depends on the temperature settings. I'm going to start it on low. I don't really like to leave the house with crock pots on. I'm just paranoid, but definitely after your first time melting wax in your crock pot, I wouldn't leave it alone. And so just to see how well it's going to melt and how long it's going to take. And this was about 2 hours later. And so it doesn't really take long for it to melt. And so you can go away, do some other tasks, and then come back. And the stuff on the top here is just propolis, some bees, just gook that is not really going to melt down any more than that. And that's just sitting on top of the wax. And so I'm going to lift the strain bag out, And you see, that's just all of the gook that's just not going to melt down anymore. And the wax is down in the crock pot there. It's liquefied. I'm just trying to drain all of the wax out of there, and then I'm going to hang the bag up here just to get the rest of the wax dripping out of there. And then I'm just going to let it harden up, and then I'll pop it out, and we'll show you that in a minute. Now there we go. This is propolis. Save that. You can make that into tinctures, and it's just really great stuff. It's healthy for you. It can be added into essential oils, lotions, and there's recipes to show you how to render that down further. Bees are so fabulous. Everything that they make from the hive we can use and benefit from. And so this just has some extra wax flakes in there that came off that strain bag right there. But you see, it's just, yeah, it's like, ew, gooey, and it's sticky. But I'm going to save that, and I'm going to make tincture out of that. And that's just another old strain bag, and it's probably seen better days, and I'll probably retire that bag. Just wax flakes in there. It's pretty nasty, gnarly looking. So this wax has started to already harden up nicely. About an hour later, it's still a little bit warm to the touch, and so I'm going to give it just a little bit more time to harden up. And then this is the strain bag right there, and it's become hard, and there's all the propolis and goo down in there. So I'll come back in a couple minutes. Okay, so this has hardened up enough to take out, and that's all you got to do right there is just tilt to the side, and it just pops right out. It's nice and neat and done. So I'm just going to set it over here on the paper towel just to drain a little bit. And just to give a comparison here of the colors, and I'm going to explain this in a minute. I guess, you can see that. Okay. So this is still capping wax, but this was from older wax. So I just wanted to clarify the difference between brood wax and capping wax. I don't think I stated that clearly earlier. This is all that I'm using right now is capping wax. It's just that this is older wax. And so older wax is going to be darker in color. So this was all from honey supers, not from brood boxes where brood was reared. And that's an important distinction there. And beekeepers should be keeping their wax separate from brood wax. And that's because of the varroa treatment. If you're using varroa treatments. If you're not using varroa treatments, it's probably still a good idea just to separate your wax. Because if you got comb from another beekeeper at some point, and if they treated, then that's going to be in there. So not unless you really can trace your wax back. It's probably just a good practice to keep your brood wax separate from your honey super wax. Now, we're not supposed to have our honey supers on when we treat. Although, like formic acid, they say that you can keep your honey supers on. But I just don't recommend it. Just to play it safe, I don't want anything getting into the honey or that comb. So your honey super wax and uncapping wax is going to be the best wax for cosmetics, and particularly the capping wax, because that is absolutely your freshest wax. They just made that to cap relatively within like the past 3 months or whatever your harvest schedule is there. So this is going to be excellent wax for cosmetics, and you don't have to worry about treatments being in that. And it is just really a good idea to keep your brood wax separate from your capping wax, just for allergy, cosmetic reasons, things like that. And especially if you're choosing to use the harder chemicals to combat varroa mites, like Apiavar, which has pesticide in it, amitraz, which I don't even recommend using that. But if you're going to use that, you definitely want to keep that out of cosmetic wax. So this, like I said, this is capping wax, and that's probably, I'll probably process that again just to try to get any other little impurities out of there. But that's probably the lightest that color is going to get because that was a little bit older wax. It wasn't brood wax, it's just older. And as the beekeepers, we should be on replacement schedule for all comb, like a 2 to 3 year replacement schedule. It's not as critical really for honey supers as it is your brood boxes and if you're treating, but it's still a good idea just to be on that type of replacement schedule. And so your older wax is going to be darker in color, and that's from them walking over the comb all the time. And again, so this is probably this one right here. That's probably the lightest. I'm going to get that right there, which is no big deal. It's still good. But that's very pretty light wax. That was like fresh, super fresh wax right there. And so that's it. This is just a really super way of processing wax, and really neat and clean. And if you need to process it again, um, you can use a paper towel to do that. And I might make another video for that. I'm going to wrap this video up. And this is just the water, some honey that's in there, and propolis. I'm saving it. I haven't really figured out what to do with that yet, but I really think that there is some good purpose for that. If anybody knows of anything, write a comment down in the area, shoot me an email, let me know of some good ideas to use this. I really hate wasting anything, that comes from the hive. We can use everything that the bees give us. So definitely like a burr comb that you're getting from the hive, save all that because that can accumulate to some really good wax. And this is a lot of tips, particularly for beekeepers, but even non-beekeepers that are buying wax. This is good info to know, especially the difference between brood wax and honey super wax. And if you want to, make anything with that as far as cosmetics go, that's very important to know. So again, that's about it. This is such super easy stuff, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. And happy beekeeping. Thanks a lot.